Elite Gaming.
What's up guys, it's Andrew at Elite Gaming HQ, and today we're going to do more benchmarks with the RTX 2080. If you haven't seen, I picked up one of these cards, and in Assassin's Creed Odyssey I tested it head to head with a GTX 1080. I wanted to be able to compare the difference between the two cards and see if it was worth your money. But that aside, today we're going to test PUBG with the RTX 2080 exclusively, and if you've been to my channel before, you've seen I tested PUBG with almost every video card I could get my hands on. This was my favorite game probably 6 or 8 months ago. I took a break from it and just brought it back out, but sometimes I wonder why I stopped playing. If you guys are getting Black Ops 4 or Fallout 76, add me on Discord. I'll put a link to my server down below, and we can definitely game that because I'm really looking forward to both those games, and I will be testing and playing those games a lot. But let's get into the test system. The system today is my Nuka-Cola Ryzen 2700X build. It's got 16 gigs of DDR4, NZXT cooler, overclocked to 4.2 gigahertz, and the game is installed on a Samsung Evo SSD. We are using a reference model RTX 2080. Now honestly, looking at these numbers, this game has come such a long way. When I used to play it, optimization was a dumpster fire to say the least, but now it seems to be so much better. It was unheard of before if you could play this game in 4K. But how I benchmarked it, I benchmarked 3 different presets across 3 different resolutions so that we can compare the numbers. And I also took the time to record some gameplay of each different preset and each different resolution so you can see how smooth it runs and what it looks like. But keep in mind that the system is a little more taxed when we're doing that because it's going to be using more RAM, a little more CPU because I am recording at the same time. But I didn't do that for the benchmarks because I wanted to give you more solid numbers. And also at the end, I'll show you what you can toggle to get a nice solid 60 FPS all the time in 4K. Because honestly, this card is made for 4K or what I'm running 1340 by 1440p ultra wide. But let's get into the numbers. First, we're going to look at 1080p. Alright, 1080p on very low. We got an average of 149 FPS, a minimum of 119, and a max of 165. On the medium preset, we got an average of 138, a minimum of 109, and a max of 164. Now for Ultra, we got an average of 134, a minimum of 97, and a max of 169. So if you wanted to run this game on a 144Hz monitor, you would have no problem in 1080p. You could toggle a couple things and you could easily get your 144. With the average being 134 in Ultra, and also you wouldn't be playing in all Ultra because nobody really uses that preset to its full extent, you would definitely get it with no problem at all. But next we're going to go into 1440p. 1440p low was an average of 159, a minimum of 107, and a max of 143. Then we move on to the medium preset in 1440p. We get an average of 131, a minimum of 83, and a max of 160. The minimum in this setting took a pretty hard hit, but the average is still around 130, which is solid numbers. And the max had a nice high spike. At one point, it jumped up to 160. I don't really know what that is in the game. I think that may have been when I went into a map or something like that. It was only for a brief second, and it did not really show true to the game as you see your average is 131. Now lastly, we did Ultra in 1440p. We got an average of 100 FPS, a minimum of 80, and a max of 114. So now lastly, let's move on to 4K. In 4K, very low, we got an average of 134, a minimum of 94, and a max of 169. What I think is pretty interesting is 4K very low is the same basic FPS that we got in 1080p Ultra, which I thought that was kind of funny. And if you're wondering how the numbers are so high in 4K, is because 4K uses more of your GPU than the rest of your system. And with such a light load on very low, the GPU is able to just run wild. But you'll see as soon as we crank it up to medium, that whole story will change. So in medium, we got an average of 96, a minimum of 75, and a max of 116. But lastly, let's move on to 4K Ultra. And in Ultra, we got an average of 61, a minimum of 53, and a max of 70. Now see, right now we're getting an average of 61, which is great, but generally you don't want your game to dump below 60 FPS ever. So how are we going to make this work? Well, as I was trying to change some settings just to test it out, some idiot ran into the room that I'm in and just started looting right in front of me. I heard his footsteps, I saw him come in, and he didn't even notice me. He just immediately started looking, didn't even look for me. So I just awkwardly killed him with my Mini 14 and moved on to the settings. But in any case, if you want to get a nice solid 60 FPS, what I would suggest doing, lowering your anti-aliasing down to nothing, because you're in 4K, you don't really need anti-aliasing, as well as take your shadows down to medium. Now most people don't even play it like this. Most people don't want foliage, they change view distance, they do all these things. So I would say the RTX 2080 is a great card for this game. If you wanted to play on your 4K panel and you have a solid processor, like something like an 8700K or what I have, an R7 2700X, you're gonna do great. And in fact, since 4K doesn't use as much as your other system, you could probably get away with an i5 8600K. Because that's 6 cores, it's probably not going to bottleneck you at all. You'll probably easily get your 60 FPS, although I haven't tested it. And just speculation off of everything that I've seen through testing, I think you should have no problem at all. Because as I said before, 4K is mostly going to utilize the graphics card, and it's not really going to need much else from the system besides the adequate amount of RAM and just a decent CPU. So I hope you guys enjoyed this benchmark video. If you like it and you appreciate the work that I put in, make sure you subscribe, turn the notifications on, give me a thumbs up, and let me know in the comments below. Like I said, if you guys are getting Black Ops 4 or Fallout 76, let me know. Join my Discord, we'll play some games together. I'm definitely interested in meeting new people to play with and to grow our overall gaming community on the Discord. But thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed. My name is Andrew. This is Elite Gaming HQ. Thanks, guys.